What's up guys, Alukard here, your favorite lab monster from New York. Now today I'm going to be partnering up with DashFight to bring you a character guide for anyone trying to learn how to play Gotenks. Before we get started, everyone please go subscribe to the DashFight YouTube channel for more character guides and check out their website for all things FGC. Okay, so before we get into his buttons, I want to explain that Gotenks is a really technical character that has a ton of reward for having great execution. He has unique tools that no other character can compare to in terms of Oki and neutral. Now, let's get into his buttons. Okay, so now I can show you guys what happens post 6M if it's blocked by your opponent. You have access to a 6-frame jab and a 9-frame medium, so you're supposed to do 5L, 4L, 5M. And what happens is that you can't do 5L, 4L on block, but if you clash, the game allows these characters like Zamasu and Gotenks to use their 4L. So, without further ado, I'll show you guys. You see right there, we beat out Android 21's 5M, which is 10 frames, and ours is 9. So that's also something that's really, really good about having a 9-frame 5M, which is relatively fast. This way, when you're in these clash situations, you have a better chance of winning out against your opponent. Of course, there's other things that you can, apply here. You can reflect here if you don't want to take the risk because your opponent has 3 bars. They might just do jab, clash, super. So there's the mind game of 6M is in your favor, and if your opponent knows that, then they have to worry about the next option. While you are comfortable, if we go through the full string together, you're gonna come out victorious. Now, on top of that, he has a great 2M, and he has a great 5H. 5H has a lot of range. He lunges really far forward. He also can charge it and becomes +1, which is super, super awesome because it also jails into super dash. Exactly what you heard. It jails into super dash, even mid-screen. It's not just a corner only thing. So you can get your pressure going, sneak in a DR, all types of stuff. You can go past them, go low. You start mixing up your opponent's options there, and the fact that you just jailed a button into super dash, or they're already afraid of you because you charged a full button in their face, now you apply that mental stack of super dashing plus the assist. It gets really, really scary for your opponent. That pretty much covers his grounded buttons. Other than that, he also can jail into his special moves from his mediums and his H. So that's something that's really, really good because his special move, EX punches, is +1. But I'll get into the special moves in just a sec. Just showing you that you can, from his normals, cancel into most of his special moves, and it'll be true string. You cannot cancel into the beam. That is not a true string. So his air buttons are actually really interesting as well. His jump jab is 3 hits. All 3 of them are not overhead, sadly. It's only the first one that got nerfed way back when. But on release, he did have 3 overheads. I know, super cheap. He does have a pretty above average jump M. It actually goes deceptively far, which is pretty much the case for this character's jump normals. They don't look like they're as big as they are. Visually, the jump M and the jump H are a lot bigger than they perceive to be in the animation. I'll try to give you some examples right here, with showing his jump H hitting from way higher. I don't know if you can see that. So it also has a deceptively long active hitbox. So it's pretty good to come down on your opponent if you don't think they're gonna 2H you. So a lot of people just use it to just get in as a giant, hitbox, and a lot of plus frames from doing an IID jump H, and you can dash up and do your string. So that just about covers his air normals. To be honest, we can move on to his special moves now. Okay, so we can get into Gotenks special moves now. Ki Blast is definitely something that a lot of people overlook because it's usually a safe way to end your strings for most of the cast. But Gotenks is a special case because he can charge his 5H, and it's pretty interesting what you can do if your opponent decides to reflect on your block string. They reflect your Ki Blast. So if you Ki Blast charge 5H, you get a full punish. And from there, you can do big damage. So that's something that's really, really strong about Gotenks. And not a lot of people talk about it, but he does a ton of damage. Okay, so we can jump into the rest of Gotenks' special moves now. We can talk about his Vengeful Shout, or, you know, people just call it a beam. So he has a mouth beam, and it's actually pretty interesting because you can use it in the air, but also it's cancelable. So if you hold the button, you do 2, 3, 6 S, and hold S, he cancels. And they call it a shout cancel because, you know, Vengeful Shout, you're canceling your beam, so shout cancel. So that's a lot easier for you guys at home to understand when people on, you know, on commentary or in other videos might talk about Gotenks and they say shout cancel. This is a shout cancel. So this move is also relatively safe. After you do it, you know, you can block. If you know, if you fake it out, you can 2H them for coming at you and super dashing, and you know, you get to bombo them with you know, Gotenks combos there, which is super huge because he does a ton of damage for getting clean hits like 2H or 2M. And that's just one of the best things about him. His beam is really, really good at covering space, and you can preemptively throw it out because it's so safe. And also, if they start to look for it, you can start faking it out and calling your assist and then moving forward. And, you know, really mix up the neutral tools. So that's his beam. He also has access to punches. And Miracle Punch is crazy because he's only -2 after it. Now, if he uses the EX version, on the other hand, he is +1. And he also can extend them for a long period of time on block. This is the EX version. And what's really, really good about them is that they keep him in the air. So he can do things like this and cancel to another special move. He can do this. So he's really, really annoying. A lot of people don't like fighting him because he can do all types of weird stuff. Like, this is crazy, right? Just looking at that, you probably didn't even know Gotenks could do that, right? He can go from special move to special move to special move. If you do a special move like punches into the other move that he has, which is the top, you cannot cancel that, sadly, into a beam because you already committed 2. So remember, you only have access to 2. You can end in beam, like I was doing, and shout cancel, and then go into another one. But if you do punches into like top, you're stuck to that. So be very, very careful on how you start to use his special moves in the air or even on the ground, because you can do it on the ground as well, right? So that's also one of the biggest things about Gotenks in neutral that he's so annoying and hard to catch. So he has jump S, jump 6S, and then he has the punches, and then he has the top, and then he also has the lariat top on the ground. And something that's super important is that he has a frame 1 key blast invo move, which is the EX top. So for example, I will show you right now. Switch the opponent to 21, and let's give 21 mid-air homing energy blast. So now 21's gonna have this orb, right? So we're gonna go ahead and record 21, just something super simple, right? Oops, excuse me. And we'll just air grab and then put the meaty orb on the Gotenks, right? So now that's like a setup that 21s usually do, right? When they have the orb, they'll do an air throw and they throw the meaty orb. And since the orb is a key blast, it's on your body, you can't wake up and jump, you can't wake up in buttons. But because you're frame 1 invo with Gotenks, now you have that access to an invincible move. So now I can do this on wake up and be completely okay. See? A lot of people don't know that. And on top of that, if you wake up with this, you can go into punches. Or you can go into another special move if you want. So it's really good to know that you can do these things. You can go even into beam. And I don't see a lot of people use that too often. Of course, it is a very niche thing to do, but little tip for you guys, a little bonus tip. So I want to go back to his Gotenks Air Key Blast because he has 2 different ones. And I want to talk about why these are so strong. So Gotenks has this singular 5S and 6S. Now, the 6S is used more as an advancing tool, obviously, because he's moving forward. But there's more to it because he also jails with it if you press a button right after. And your opponent cannot super dash you if you're close enough to them. To be honest, even if you're really, really far away, you're able to guard cancel and, cancel your key blast into punches. Oops, I have it on Z reflex, excuse me. So you can 100% catch up, but even if you do the 6S, you have enough time. So even if you do like 2 key blasts, you have enough time to level 3 them. See? So that's really important to know. It's a good way to bait people because a lot of people see Gotenks in this specific angle and they're like, oh, he's gonna 6S, so I'm gonna just super dash. And you just don't. You just punch. You just do an empty punch. And that's completely fine too. Because the thing about this is that punches beat super dash. So it's really good to know. Because people like to do it a lot. And you know, you get to go into bombos. And that's a really great punish, right? That's just a really good thing for everybody to know. Before we move on, I would like to also say that if you super jump your 6S, the character turns around in the air. So if your opponent dashes under you, you get to punch him in the noggin, right? Or you can just backdash M, right? So you can do this, backdash M, you see? Or just avoid the scenario but still be looking at your opponent. Versus the double jump, the singular jump, and you're stuck facing the wrong way. So that's something I would like a lot of Gotenks players to start doing. It's really important. I do this all the time. I super jump float and then I get above them and I go behind them, and when I push the button I want to be facing my opponent, right? So it's really good to know that super jump installing this gives you that. Let's talk about the last most underused move that Gotenks has in his kit. Special move is the donut. Now the donut got changed and nerfed, which is why a lot of people don't really use it, but it does have some niche scenarios where you can punish certain special moves if they have insane startup and stuff like that. Again, it's very niche, very difficult to use, but he can do the donut, and he can also move it up to hit an opponent that tries to jump normal jump above it. So it's pretty cool that they gave it a nice little movement to it. It's still very hard to use, but one of the best things about donut is that he's plus after you do donut, as well as EX punches and charge 5H. He's plus a lot. He's plus 5. So it's really hard to use versus really strong players because they're always moving or they're doing certain things. But once you apply the mental stack again and they're forced to block because they're scared of your block strings, you just whip this out. Now you're plus and you get to play that game. Now this 9-frame normal becomes a 4-frame normal because you're plus 5. So 5 minus 9 is 4. Yeah, so you know, use that at your own risk, but donut is definitely still a very useful tool. Before we finish special moves, he also has this amazing special move, which usually is used to end combos or to extend combos, and it's super strong in this patch because of the new Z change. Not a lot of people know this, but also Gotenks, when they want to super dash you after doing this, right? You can actually level 3 and completely punish your opponent, or you can Z change immediately and you end up clashing with your opponent. And that's super interesting because it's a really safe way to get your character out when Gotenks is low. So a lot of times when you go back to neutral and you're at low health, you just have to kind of find a way to get in there with versus your opponent and either, you know, make them block with top or make them block a die from this range. And what happens, they get punished for doing super dash. And that's super strong, and not a lot of people know this, but it's pretty brutal. That is something I really wanted to talk about. Of course, this move, you know, it's mostly used for something like this, where you see me, you guys on my stream, you guys see me do this all the time, where I do extending combos with this and, you know, bring in Zamasu to do all types of bombos and cool stuff. But using it for Gotenks in general, like trying to get him out, things like that, that's where you would apply that special move. It's super strong, and I implore people to do it more. Even from point blank, you will win. And guys, it's super underused and a very valuable tool. So please make sure you guys use that. Now we're going to talk about Gosoki, and Gosoki is really interesting. It's so in-depth and you can dive into different applications and uses for hours, to be honest, because there's just so much application there, and it's because you have control of all 4 of these ghosts. So what you do is a technique called negative edging, whereas you hold the buttons during the super flash animation, which is right here at the beginning. You see while the background is dark, you can hold the all your buttons, so S, H, L, M, and each one is a designated ghost. So this is S, H, M, L, right? Each ghost is under your control, and you release the buttons according to how you want to cover your opponent's options when you knock them down. So generally, this is a pretty simple combo. What you want to do, you want to save your double jump for the air, and you do light, 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 jump back, heavy. So here we have a perfect spacing for Gosoki, and this should cover all the reversal options that your opponent tries to do. You see I have her set to vanish. So you see she's going to vanish on recovery, and I hit her with a ghost, correct. So I'll do it one more time for you guys to see. So what I do here is I like to hold L, S, and H when I do Gosoki. And this way I release the S first because it's the closest ghost, so that I can get the meaty as clean and as quick as possible, so I don't get hit by that frame 4 reversal. And I like to release them one by one. So I like to release, you know, S, then L, then H, or S, H, then L, whichever one I'm feeling that day. Because after you release the initial one, the other two just follow right behind it, and you can cover pretty much the entire wake up option from your opponent. And what's great about this is that if your opponent delays the latex, you can also see that. So you cover that as well. So you see my opponent's going to cover it. I'm going to release normal, and I still get to cover the wake up. So it's very, very important that you guys learn how to use this. It does take some time. It is one of the most difficult things about Gotenks, is learning how to apply the Gosoki and making sure that your opponent doesn't get away from you after you get this knockdown. Now, if you guys can see, now this is going to be her blocking after the Gosoki. So you can apply tons of stuff. You see I can move while I'm holding it and release them at different timings, or they frame trap, or they true string, all types of things I can do. I can just run over there and just hit her with a low, boom, release that. More overhead. I can, you know, I can release each one by one, and then the last one hold DR so that the last ghost doesn't shoot. That's also a very tricky way to do it. The list goes on. I can do so much stuff. I can do overhead and then release and get a combo after it into rejumps. This is where the skill actually comes in for Gotenks. So please take your time with this. It's not an easy technique, and be aware that it's an uphill battle for you to learn how to control these ghosts and apply them correctly towards your opponent and your matchups. So next up is Gotenks' other super move, which is ghosts as well, but they're with L and M. And as you can see, they immediately just shoot at the opponent. And these ghosts actually do a lot more than the other ghosts, because you're shooting 5. So you get, it's about 720 scaled. And I'll show you guys just what it looks like when you just let them go. Boom. It's LM. I don't have to press anything. It just shoots them. So this super is actually pretty interesting, because there's a lot of characters that, just like for example on my team, that can do double super pretty much with this. So right now I can do Zamasu super and then link another one right after. And that sometimes is the little bit of damage that you need extra to get the last kill and stuff like that. So it's definitely a very good super. It is on the weaker side, sadly, but it's still applicable and has its uses. Okay, now we're going to talk about Gotenks Level 3. There's a lot more to Gotenks Level 3 than people realize. Yes, it does have one of, if not the longest animations in the game. You are basically here watching a movie. He plays volleyball with you and smacks you down into the ground. And it takes a long, long time. But one of the benefits of that is that if your opponent's in Spark and you want to waste as much time as possible so you don't have to fight them while they're in Spark, you go into the super and you waste a lot of their sparking time. So that's one of the most used strategies for the super, and also the fact that he's not really that plus after the super. As you can see, I'll show you once again. He doesn't necessarily get crazy insane mix like Android 21 does, stuff like that, but he is still plus. So he's only plus 27 when you do it off of the die. But if you do it off of the beam, he's actually a little more plus than normal. See, he's plus 34. I don't understand necessarily why this is the case, but he is a little more plus if you go into beam. My guess is that if you do a super scaled combo into die, they want you to have less frame advantage, and that's mostly what you want to do with the characters, right? You want to squeeze out as much damage as you can. So basically the trade-offs is if you do a lot more damage, you get less frame advantage, and if you do less damage, you get more frame advantage. So that's pretty interesting. But at most, you pretty much can only get like you know, super dash, super jump, air dash H, or you can mix up and do a IED jump M and cross up the opponent. You don't really get too much, but again, Gotenks is more so about his mental stack, so you could dash up same side super dash them, or you can, you know, cross up M like I said, or same side top even. So it's up to you how you want to mix up the post level 3 scenario, because he doesn't, again, he doesn't get true 50-50s or anything like that. So we're going to talk about Gotenks bread and butters. Probably my favorite thing about Gotenks, not to mention that they are very technical combos, but they also look great, and they build a lot of bar and do a decent amount of damage. Another good thing about each of these combos is that no matter the starter, if you do jump M, if you do 2M, or if you do a light starter, they all go into the same bread and butter combo. For example, if you do a jump in, you go into this combo. You can still do the full combo. Boom. Go into Gosoki. That works no matter what. And even if you do 2-0, Gosoki. Same thing as if you do 2M. That's my BnB. I never mess it up. That's why they call it bread and butter. You don't ever want to mess it up. You want to be as pretty much as consistent as possible with it. There's definitely a difficulty to these combos, though. Please be patient with yourself. You're learning Gotenks, and if you just started playing him, he is a very difficult combo. The notations are going to be put in this video, and again, be patient with yourself, and remember that you're learning. And, you know, best of luck to you guys. So if you want to extend your combos from mid-screen, let's say if you don't want to go into Gosoki and you want to further damage your opponent and not end in that same ender, you can also end like this. With most characters, you can get a DR. So let me show you even with 21, who doesn't have a fly. Wait to the very end, and you get a DR. Now that's very important because you do more damage than just ending into Ghost, and then you're still allowed to do, you know, super, and it's very good to know that you can do these things. That's just the two different enders for you, because again, Gotenks wants to almost always go into Gosoki, but then if your opponent's health is low enough to spend all the bar or the bar that you have to kill them, you should always choose to, you know, kill the character instead of trying to go for Gosoki for no reason. So now we're going to talk about Gotenks corner combos, and to be honest, he can do the same mid-screen combos in the corner as well. So if you start from jab, you can still do the same combo that you did mid-screen, and continue and go on and so forth. So you get the rejump like you saw in the corner as well. You can still do it off of 2M too. It doesn't change. Like, that's the beautiful thing about those BnBs that I told you about, is that you can do them no matter what. That's why it's super important that you learn it, because you can do it even if you're in the corner or mid-screen. Now, Gotenks also has other unique combos, and I'll go ahead and show you one that I personally like. now we're gonna move on to Gotenks' BlockStrings. So Gotenks has really interesting BlockStrings because like I said before, he can cancel a lot of his stuff into other options. So, you know, a lot of his special moves can cancel to another special move. So it's up to you as a player to start really applying a mental stack on your opponent and really compiling all of these things together to create, you know, a vicious character where he remains plus in your face, or he just abruptly stops with a key blast, or, you know, he does the light punches and goes -2, backdash calls assist. There's tons and tons and tons. The list goes on how you want to play this character and how you want to apply pressure with this character. Like I said before, he doesn't necessarily mix entirely like, you know, Kid Buu mix or Zamasu's mix, where they just do a special move into a 50-50. He's more like applying the mental stack and forcing your opponent to reflect or do something silly on defense. But he also has this really, really awesome, interesting block string, which I do with my shells, Zamasu and Gotenks. So he can apply a 50-50 by tagging himself out if he does 5M into the X top. See, that's a true low, and you can also do it into your true high as well. See? So that is a 50-50 right there. And what's really interesting about this is that your opponent cannot spark. I will try to show you exactly what I mean. So we're going to have him guard cancel, sparking blast. I'm going to do 20 frames so you can do it. So you see, I can run over there and still continue the combo. And that's because Gotenks becomes, for some reason, just untouchable when you guard cancel. I don't have the answer to why Gotenks does not get hit by the blowback of the spark, but you can always down tech and run over there and basically bombo your opponent. So that's super strong, because if they don't spark, you just go about your day and 50-50 them. So it's really, really strong. They can definitely guard cancel, but the same thing applies if they guard cancel. Even if they guard cancel right in the beginning, you can tech and get a key blast and still get a knockdown. And that's, you do spend the bar, but they did as well, and you're in an advantageous state. So that's really, 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 really strong. I cannot express this enough. So please figure out if your characters can create a 50-50 scenario just like that, because that's one of the strongest things that Gotenks has available to him in this new patch because of the new Z change. So aside from that, we're going to go into more basic block strings. Gotenks has pretty good block strings with his assists, no matter which assist it is. Most of them, he can always do this and stay plus in your face. You know, that's plus 12. He can do it solo with punches and be +1. And that's really, really strong. He also has really good key blasts. They're straight key blasts, and they're -4 in block. And look how spaced I am for my opponent. He cannot jab after that. 21 is one of the few characters that can you know, 5M me from here, and it's kind of scary. But remember, you also can just backdash there again and play and just back off if you want. So that's a really, really safe way to end your pressure. You can also do it from 5H, and it doesn't true string if you slight delay, right? But if you end with 5M, it true strings. So just letting you guys know. So along with those block strings and that neutral pressure, Gotenks pretty much wants to just get the hit on the opponent and, you know, just go Soki all day long, set play all day long. That's the name of the game for Gotenks. He wants to just put you in this scenario as much as possible and make your life a living hell on defense. That is pretty much how he wants to play neutral, or what he's looking for to gain from the neutral. He has tons of tools like I showed earlier. So just be very versatile and try to be creative in how you're going to approach a neutral with him, because that's his best and most unique game plan. So now we can talk about what I think is one of the weaknesses for Gotenks. I think Gotenks suffers from having tiny buttons. His jab is okay for his character size, but it's still lacking in range, where people are throwing out, you know, these giant 5Ms like these two characters, or like, you know, Vegito and things like that, or they're hitting you from so far away, whereas Gotenks is, you know, this is not the same, and this is not the same. as, you know, Vegito legs and things like that. So it's such an explosive neutral game with normals now. Gotenks is forced to play in the air, and that can also be a very risky thing because you cannot see your opponent super dashing, and it gets really, really difficult. So a big thing about Gotenks is learning how to punish super dashes, because that's a very big thing, that he's always like mobile and trying to not be in ranges and things like that. But granted, he does have a lot of special moves to help him mitigate that. Another weakness about him is that he doesn't have strong DHC supers. So his super only does 720. After, I'll do this just to show you. Super basic. Boom. If you can see the opponent's health, it doesn't do too much after. And that can be a little frustrating when you're trying to kill a character. Same thing for his level 3, which also got buffed, to be honest. So his level 3 is, I think, the same damage as Janemba's, which is 1660. Oh, no, it's not the same as Janemba's. It's the same as Piccolo's and Krillin's. And Super Saiyan Vegeta, Vegeta Blue. Those 6 characters, I think it's Gotenks, Krillin, Piccolo, and both Vegeta, Super Saiyan, and Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. Those are all 1660. Yes. And to end off, we can talk about Gotenks assists. I personally think that Gotenks B assist is his best assist by far, because he can apply pressure very fast. It's 25 frame startup and it's 40 frames advantage. That is such a high number, and it allows for all types of characters to go crazy mix, and set up true blades with my character. Like Zamasu, I get so much. Same thing with Kid Buu mid screen, I can get, you know, the low. I can also in the corner, I can do it as well, and I can get the high, and like it just allows you to do everything you want in an assist for extensions and pressure and mix. Also, you can use it to end combos and get a DR grounded. That's super strong and should not be overlooked. Next up, we're going to talk about Gotenks A assist. And now A assist is 47 frame startup and plus 46 on block. That is really good numbers for frame advantage. The startup is really slow though, and sadly you cannot do stuff like this because he gets pushed out of the block string, and Gotenks necessarily doesn't get you don't get the block string that you would like. If you guys can see, it doesn't jail, so I personally don't use it, but it is a great combo extender, so you could use it to extend combos. As you can see here, it does extend combos really well for tons of characters. So if you're looking for a combo extension assist, that's your best bet. But I will show you guys why I personally don't use this assist, and I use B assist over A. Let's have the computer set to A, and I'm gonna just record the assist so you guys can see. It's just one reflect, and it reflects the entire thing. Before, it used to be 2 separate reflects, and so your opponent had to reflect twice and be locked down for way longer. And now you're not locked down as long, and you can just jump immediately after 1 reflect. So after they did that big change to it, it definitely dwindled in application, because just B assist is just so much stronger because of its quick use and lockdown. Alright, and now we'll talk about the final assist, is C assist. I personally am not a fan of C assist in this game in general, because of their long recovery times. And as you can see, if I do C assist and A assist at the same time, you'll see that Kid Buu will start coming back way faster than Gotenks in the top left there. And it's because C assists have such a long recovery time, and you would like to have your assists available as often as possible at the highest level of play. So that's kind of why I stay away from C assists. But if you really feel like you need a horizontal beam and there's nothing else you can do about it with your team composition, Gotenks does have one of the better C assists in the game, because it is a beam and it auto confirms on hit. So that's really strong. The only weakness again about most C assists is because their cooldown is so long, and that's generally why a lot of top players shy away from using C assists at the highest level of play. Alright everyone, that just about covers this tutorial for Gotenks. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button on DashFight's YouTube channel and check out the website. Thanks for watching.